My name is Hayes Lewis. I'm from Zuni Pueblo, and I'm the director of the Center for Lifelong Education. Tonight we're going to have the introduction of the lecture series on Southern Africa, the Southern Africa Economic and Cultural Exchange. And if you're viewing this DVD, then you know that I didn't make it to this meeting because I have a relative graduating down the road at the State Police Academy tonight. So I also wanted to just share a little bit of the overview, how the project got started, acknowledge some of our partners and participants, as well as talk a little bit about outcomes. The Southern Africa Exchange actually began in around 2003 with an initial meeting in Washington, D.C. at the planning time of the Museum of the American Indian and other activities that were happening there. The partners that were involved were IAIA, the Museum of the American Indian, and W.K. Kellogg Foundation. So in organizing the venue for this activity, it was decided that IAIA would be the host and be the contractor to carry out the Southern Africa Economic and Cultural Exchange. In talking about the cultural exchange, I really need to acknowledge the strong partnerships that we have with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, United States, as well as the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, Southern Africa, and all of their staff that are in the various countries that we visited. The purpose of the cultural and economic exchange was really to look at ways that IAIA could really support the development of economic activity among artisans and craftspeople. That includes painters, potters, designers, but also to look at how do we strengthen and build a capacity within the tribal communities to take on their own issues, whether they're economic or political and social, and help make a difference. And I really believe that the outcomes eventually of this project, as it unfolds and continues to develop, will address that issue in very direct ways. But the economic and cultural exchange is really focused on the heads of households, which are primarily women. They're not single parents. I guess they are functionally single parents, but many of the husbands are working in other countries just because of the economics, and the women are the ones who have been holding the families together and really are practicing and perpetuating the traditional arts that they have, whether it's weaving, pottery, painting, and other economic activities. And one of our tasks was to really see how we could assist in getting these products to market via the internet and other opportunities like that. And that's still to be realized. So tonight you're going to be having an overview of the different activities and the people involved. I also want to acknowledge the CLE staff, Ramos Swina, Judy Swina, Melanie Ozzie, for their active involvement and support of this project, as well as their participation. The Southern Africa Exchange portion was the second portion of the project. The first part of it was when we hosted the Southern Africans to come to Santa Fe to the Institute and participated in a series of dialogues and tours to see how things were being done in terms of artisans, particularly during the Indian market activity. They came away from IAIA with a renewed sense of purpose and the fact that they could really do a lot for themselves, which is really the purpose of this kind of program. So we had a great time here in Santa Fe, and then of course the exchange that many of you participated in, the students, staff, and faculty, alumni, and our community leaders really added so much value to the quality of the exchange. And then in following up there are many ways that we can continue to involve the student, staff, and faculty in more direct ways to address some of the issues. I had a meeting on November 12th and 13th in Battle Creek with the Southern Africa representatives, Fidel, Mondi, and all of the representatives from the different countries we visited, which you'll get an overview of tonight. And they really appreciated the involvement of everyone and the opportunities that were provided to dialogue, exchange, get to know each other, and also to outline the beginning of a continuing relationship. The continuing relationship will focus on leadership development, community education and empowerment, political support for many of the activities they have, like land acquisition, and attracting funds so that they can develop their economic enterprises that will directly benefit the heads of household. And so we look forward to working with them on a website that they would like to have housed here at IAIA to sell their products and to advertise their activities. And also, they want our assistance in developing an early childhood education program, training program for teachers and community education advocates. We have the experience and the history of working in these areas within our staff and with other of our contractors, and so we'll be working in the areas of distance education, providing coursework, and then also bringing the Southern African representatives here to IAIA. And this probably implies a development within the Indigenous Liberal Studies program department, so that we can provide these kinds of accredited programs not only to our people, Native Americans in this hemisphere, but also to the native Southern African people, tribal people, so that they can strengthen their learning opportunities and gain some measure of control over the education of their children. They're still living in colonized situations, even though African faces are now empowered in various levels of government. They still need to deal with the infrastructure and systemic approach and to resolving some of their educational concerns and needs and issues. So the Southern Africans will be coming here on May 8th to participate in the last of the lecture series, and also to tour the area, look at our campus, and talk in more detail about some of the follow-up activities. So I want to turn this over to Melanie and Ramos and others to continue providing the overview for this exciting and wonderful opportunity that has been created through strong partnership and relations that we have with Kellogg, the African nations, and student, staff, faculty, and alumni. So I want to thank you and have a good evening. Elakwa.